the soft power of K-dramas is brilliant.
1 to 10 scale, I'd probably give it a good 9.
It just struck me, dear to my heart.
That's one of my favorite ones, but most definitely.
I don't know. They were really good at making it very emotional, but
Hello, everyone. This is Mark Peterson with Frog Outside the Well Research Center. Today, we are going to do a review of Crash Landing on You. You saw the clips at the beginning. We have 6 of my friends, and we're first going to ask them, what do they think about Crash Landing on You? How does it rate? We'll see you, and we'll see you later. I'll give my evaluation at the end.
Yeah, what did you think of Crash Landing?
I absolutely loved it. And I didn't expect to. And I wasn't really interested in Crash Landing on You right away. I watched the trailer. I thought it was kind of hokey. And then I always give everything a pilot test. So I say, well, I'll watch 1 episode, and if it really gets me, then I'll keep going. And I'd already seen Sonia Jin in a different K-drama called Something in the Rain, or Something About the Rain, or something like that. And so I started watching it, and I was completely hooked.
Yeah, I mean, if you were putting it on a 1 to 10 scale, I'd probably give it a good 9.
I rate it very highly because it just struck me, dear to my heart. And because the character development worked, and because the scenery of North Korea was so well done and so well prepared, I wanted to go and see it. I wanted to go and be there.
That's one of my favorite ones, but most definitely.
Who was your favorite character?
the guy.
Nah.
Was his name Captain Ree? I liked him a
It was
lot.
very awesome.
Yeah.
You too, Leah?
I was with my brothers. I thought his little soldier men from North Korea were fun.
Oh, definitely Captain Ree. Captain Ree was my favorite character.
The Ri Jung-hyuk, the North Korean soldier guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Partly because his character being a North Korean is just really intriguing, and we don't have a lot of information about North Korea or the people, and that was what was fascinating, is to kind of see things through the eyes, even though
that's hard to say. I was just looking at some, trying to decide who that would be, and everybody likes the main protagonists, and I would agree with that, but just to offer a different opinion from the main protagonist, there was a Pyo Chi-soo. He had the most bony face and looked the most like I would expect a North Korean to look.
The thing that made it really funny were the 3 soldiers that were there.
Yeah.
They were awesome. That's one thing about these Korean dramas. I think there's always, sometimes it's very serious, and then all of a sudden you get these crackpots in there that just make it really humorous and light.
Yeah.
And so we really enjoyed them a lot.
Well, that's my next question is, who was your favorite supporting actor? There were a lot of characters in that show. Who was your favorite backup actor?
Well, I already said the soldier men were my favorite, so I have to say the other supporting characters that were my favorite were the group of ladies in North Korea. I thought they were also very amusing. I had no idea what their purpose was, but they were funny.
Yeah.
I kind of liked if I remember right, I think it was the girl that was supposed to marry him.
Ooh. I would probably have to say, I don't know her name, but the character who was the North Korean village chief, who made sure everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing, but when sort of push came to shove, she sort of came out in defense of her, and I love that character.
wow. I guess probably again I would go to the North Korean side, and I would probably have to give it to the group of those kind of North Korean ajamas in the village that were kind of, all together were kind of a character.
Captain Ree's father, but he was steady and solid and played his part that he needed to be at the time, whether he was a dad or a husband or a really big army wig.
those ladies, that one lady, she wasn't the richer lady, but she was, I don't know, she kind of looked like she took charge a little bit. I liked her.
Give me a one-word description of Sari.
I would say transformed.
Oh, yeah. In what sense?
Well, in the beginning, she's so selfish.
Yeah.
And I would argue even unlikable. You know, she goes from being very selfish to being selfless.
Yeah.
And that to me was very transformed.
Well, I think her character developed. So earlier on, I think she was conceited or haughty, you know, or I think that's part of what it portrayed is her exposure to North Korea changed some of that. You know.
The thing that I liked most about it is as high class and snobbery and full of herself she was at the beginning, she learned to be grateful for those really simple little things that she began to miss.
Strong.
Busy.
She's strong-willed.
One word for Captain Reed.
Honorable to the very end.
Yeah.
Because he could have defected. He could have just said, you know, I'm not going back. I'm not going to take care of my men. In the end, he goes back, you know, to North Korea, spoiler, and because he's going to protect his men, because he's going to, you know, serve his father, because he's going to still be an honorable man.
I thought he was courageous or noble. I mean, I know that's two words, but you know, if you try to put yourself in his place and the danger he was facing, I thought he was a person of integrity, even in spite of those circumstances. And you like to see that.
Conflicted. His duty as a soldier versus his duty as a human.
More like invincible.
I think he was like how I would imagine George Washington. There's not a one word for that, but
Confident. I think he's very confident.
Absolutely.
What was your impression of the way South Korea was portrayed?
I would say it was portrayed as being certainly very affluent. It's a very different portrayal of South Korea than the one you see in Parasite, for example.
That the impression that I got from the movie was that South Koreans, by and large, were a little bit more materialistic. And I think that's a contrast they were trying to make. And I think if contrasted with North Koreans, maybe they are more materialistic.
Of course, they have to, in a movie, in a drama, they have to push it to an absurd. I always want to see a more simple, friendly Korea, but so many dramas and so many push it to a level of how could a person really act like that?
Very free, very liberal, lots of
lots
opportunities.
of technology.
Yeah.
Kind of just like us and Japan.
Yeah, very westernized in a lot of ways. Freedom to leave their country and go back in. Also, there was Wi-Fi.
But I thought, you know, everything looks pretty modern and nice and nice place to visit, I would think.
That's the next question. What's your impression of North Korea, the way it was portrayed?
To me, what I think it does beautifully is that it really humanized North Korea and North Koreans for outsiders.
My impression of North Korea if it were based on the drama itself, I think it showed a human side to people that we really tend to maybe vilify categorically. And I think that that's probably accurate. I think that if we could sit down with North Koreans, for the most part, they're very human.
Well, that's probably quite a controversial topic in the world of people who know North and South and watch this movie because it treated them sort of kindly.
I couldn't imagine it was really like that. It seemed so backwards. But also, the people there seemed so people-like. I guess I never thought of them as with personalities. I kind of just thought of them as like brainwashed individuals.
what was really funny is when the guys went over to South Korea and they said, "Oh, look at all these cars, that they put out there because they knew we were coming."
Yeah.
I think that's very telling of how things were, and when the electricity, goes off. And that was something that we read about in this book also, that, there's not electricity there. So from what I read in the one book, I thought, well, that's probably very true. They're probably portraying it, much like it is.
That's
Yes.
based on a real event. When they had the first North-South visits back in the, probably the mid-70s, they had the Northern delegation staying at a hotel. And out in front, the cars were just going by all the time, the way they always do.
Yeah.
And the North Koreans said, they've lined up all those cars just to impress.
What scene, if you can remember a scene, was there a scene that after you watched it, you couldn't sleep at night?
So the scene that really struck me was the scene at the border where he's going back and she arrives at the last minute and runs to him, and he crosses the border because she's so weak, and they say that they love each other. And
I thought it was interesting how they connected the fact that the lives of Jung-hyuk and Seti had intertwined.
Boy, to nail it down to one specific thing is pretty hard. There's things that bothered me throughout. Every time they were loving each other in a way that they were really letting their feelings come out. It would snow, and I know it doesn't snow that often, but that's a big thing. The first snow, the person you're with in your first snow is someone you fall in love with in Korea.
The scene that did it for me was it might have been the last episode, but it was when they were at the demilitarization zone at that line.
Yeah.
And they were going back to North Korea, and then and she was chasing him to say goodbye. I don't know. They were really good at making it very emotional, but also it did make me think there's really a divide there, and I think that's a real thing, right?
Right.
There's that.
That's very
there's
authentic.
that and you can't cross that line.
No.
So the only one I can really remember is when Captain Ree, he's got his gun pointing at that one bad North Korean guy, and then someone gets shot. You hear gunfire, and then you don't know who got shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one I can really remember.
The scene, where he walks her to the North Korean side, and
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, and he just lets her go, but then he walks over himself.
Yeah.
Past that line.
Final question. Should Korea be proud of this product? Does it promote Korea in a favorable light?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because again, as a result of K-dramas and the remarkable soft power of K-dramas, for my high school students, it's BTS and K-pop. The soft power of K-dramas is brilliant because of that. When I watch ones that are historical, I then am reading Korean history.
I think they can't help but be, because it's had such natural success.
Yeah, I guess so. I would be. I don't know. Well, one reason that I do like them is because I find them to be pretty clean.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't, some of the ones I've watched before are swearing. But, I wouldn't know they were swearing, unless I have to read it with the subtitles.
Yeah.
But I think they're clean. I don't think there's a lot of sex in them. There's some violence. So.
Yeah. Okay. What did you think of those evaluations? My evaluation is I really enjoyed Crash Landing. I thought it was really a fun movie series, and I'd rank it fairly highly. My favorite actor, I want to say Seti, and I want to say Captain Lee, but I think I'm going to say something different. I'm going to say Cho Chul-gang, the villain. I thought he was really a good villain. I hated him. Every time he'd come on, you could just feel your skin crawl about how bad he was. And they caught him and arrested him, and he broke away. Then he shows up in South Korea. Oh no. So he was really a delicious villain. So I'm going to rate him as my #1 actor. Best supporting actor, I'm going to say the Rat, who had to listen in on people and was a sneaky, creepy guy, but turns out to be a good guy in the end. The thing that was interesting to me was 2 of the people in the crash landing show up in Parasite. The mother of Sodan, who was very capricious and happy, and her brother, the 1-star general, the 2 of them show up in Parasite in very, very different roles. In Crash Landing, they're happy, almost comedic figures, but in Parasite, they really have different roles. She's the poor mother, and he is the man in the basement. So I really enjoyed Crash Landing and the various actors in it. I hope you did as well. We'll see you next time.